And I've got a bunch of people still joining. So give me 1 second and we'll get started. And I will continue to just have people join us because that will happen as we get going. But we obviously do want to get started too. So we have a good amount of time. I'm seeing some more faces that I haven't seen before, which is awesome. Maurice, I don't think I've met you. So welcome. And Zach, or Chris, I don't think I've met either of you. So welcome to you guys as well. Thanks for being here. We continue to grow our EXP family tree, which is amazing. I think we're over 8,000 agents now here in this workplace group. And so we're seeing more and more new faces, and please continue to invite your friends that are here within EXP, but this is also open to anybody not with EXP, and it's just a Zoom link. And so we're just bringing value to anybody who would like to have more value brought into their life. And we do this every Tuesday and Wednesday as a reminder. Also, this is live streamed in EXP Family Tree, so you can go back and watch this anytime you want to. It stays there forever. And last but not least, I do record it and I put it out on my YouTube channel. So if you want to share it with somebody who doesn't have access to our workplace, you can easily grab that link and share it with them. Let's pay it forward. Let's keep helping other people be better in their business, because if we pay it forward and we help other people, we always get enough for ourselves. That's just the law. And so I'm excited to be able to do that. Today, I have a very exciting guest as well. One of my business partners in Minnesota, who I've known for many years, who is a great leader in our Minnesota group here at EXP Realty. Lisa Martin is with us. She is a real estate agent. She is a coach. She owns a mentorship company in Minnesota. And she's just an all-around awesome human being. And she is going to share some of her wisdom with us today. As always, this is interactional. Go ahead, chat in the chat box. If you're watching live on the live stream, I will monitor that for Lisa. So if you do have questions, you can post there too. And I'm sure she'll leave some time throughout the presentation for questions as well. But we love it to be interactive, so you guys don't be shy. And so somebody says, yes, Minnesota, don't you know? You're right, Matt.
I've never heard that before, right?
I love it. All right, take it away, Lisa. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Can you see my screen that says how to live the
Yes.
My technology, man, I am on fire today. So, well, thanks everybody for being here. I know maybe the title of this is a little bit like, well, what am I getting myself into today? So just a little bit about me. I've been in the business going on 21 years now. In April, it'll be 21 years. And in that period of time, I've done a lot of different things. I love learning and growing and challenging myself. So I've worked as, owned a brokerage. I actually managed EXP Minnesota for a while. Didn't see all the value at that point, but obviously I'm here, I'm back, and I see so much more value here the second time around. I built a mentorship company along with my business partner, Angie, who is on the call today. And so my real passion is just helping entrepreneurs lead their ideal life. And so I know as business people, we get so busy. I know many of us, if we're in the real estate business, say, you know, it's not just a career, it's a lifestyle. And so today I want to challenge you to think a little bit more about, is this the lifestyle, you know, that you want to be leading? I came across the book. It's called The EOS Life by Gino Wickman. And it just really spoke to me. And so today I'm going to be presenting the principles of ideal entrepreneurial life that Gino has presented, along with a little bit of my own flair. Gino also wrote the book Traction. Is anybody here familiar with the book Traction? Traction basically takes business owners through the process of really developing a great foundation, helping you figure out your values and your mission and all of that. So two great books combined, but the one that I loved the most was the EOS Life. So with that, let's go ahead and get started, if I can make this work. All right, so the ideal entrepreneurial life involves 5 different principles. The principles are: do what you love, with people you love, while making a huge difference, and being compensated appropriately, with time for other passions. Those 5 elements, doesn't that sound like nirvana in our business? If we could do what we love with people we love, making a huge difference, making the kind of money we think we should make, and having time for other passions, That's my ideal goal for all the businesses that I'm involved in. And I'll bet it's probably the similar type of goal for you guys, right? Yeah, great. Well, what I want to do then is I want to dig into the principles, but first I want to just talk about your belief system. And so I found this really great quote here. It says, the unconscious will allow us to have only what we think we deserve. And so as we start off and we're trying to figure out how do we create this ideal entrepreneurial life, none of the work that we do will be impactful unless we really have that belief that we are worthy of having an ideal entrepreneurial life. So my business partner, Angie, helps to dig around in people's minds and figure out if your thoughts are where they should be. So in the presentation, I'll tell you a little bit more about Angie and how to get in touch with her. So the first one we're going to focus on is do what you love. So this is a little bit of work I'm going to have you guys do. So the first thing I want you to do, and we're going to use this as part of the presentation, is I'm going to give you a minute and I want you to write down everything that you love to do. Keep in mind, this doesn't just have to be business or work related, but what are the things that you love to do? So in 1 minute, let's see how you can do. Go ahead and get started. All right, well, I'm not sure if that was an actual minute, but did you get quite a few different items on your list? Yep. All right, so hang on to that list because we're going to talk about it a little bit more. But first, we're going to talk about a list, making a list of the things that you do in your business. And so we're not going to have time to do that all here, but this is another task that I'm going to ask you to do after the presentation. I've listed a few things that are probably common to most business entrepreneurs, where we have to find clients, we get to work with clients, we manage our finances, we might work at negotiating and doing some brand management. So the point of the first principle of doing what you love is first identifying all of the things that you do in your business. Some of those might be on the first list that you've created. Hopefully some of them end up on the list of things that you enjoy doing in your business. But how do you get to doing what you love 100% of the time? And the EOS book has a tool that they call Delegate, Elevate. I call it Delegate, Delete, and Elevate. And so as you start working through creating your list of the tasks that you enjoy doing in your business, once you feel like you have a pretty good handle on that, it might take you a week or a couple of weeks to just keep jotting notes of things that you do in your business. You're going to place each of those tasks in one of these 4 quadrants. So at the bottom, we've got, I don't like doing it and I'm not good at it. Over to the left, we have, I don't like doing it, but I'm good at it. As we move up to the right upper, we say, I like doing it and I'm good at it. And the ultimate goal, the goal of 100% of the time, is I love doing it and I'm great at it. So as you create your business list with all of the tasks there, like I say, you're going to put all those tasks in one of those 4 quadrants. So if we're working toward the principle of doing what we love 100% of the time, what you are going to end up doing is delegating the tasks that you find on the bottom too, under the red and the yellow. And you might say, well, Lisa, I'm a solopreneur. I don't have anybody to delegate to. I'm going to challenge you on that because it's easy enough to hire a virtual assistant. Angie and I just hired a virtual assistant about 6 weeks ago, and it's kind of changed our lives. You've got, as you grow and you start to generate more revenue in your business, you'll probably have the opportunity to bring someone in part-time and then hopefully full-time. And I think the goal for all of us is to be able to manage a business and do what we love and allow others to come in and assist us and do what they love, because everybody's quadrants are going to be different. And so if I can find somebody that loves to do all the tasks in the red area, how much better off am I? So this tool is a long-term plan, but the long-term plan is to delegate the tasks on the bottom two quadrants, at least one per quarter. And you have to be intentional about that. You continually look at it just like you would for your business plan and say, which of these things on the lower two quadrants can I delegate this quarter? And that's why I say this is a long-term process. It could take you 3 years, could take you 5 years, could take you 10 years. And any of those timeframes is okay. We're all going to do it based on the progression of our business. But how do you find time to do the things that you love? You delegate so that you get elevated up to those top two quadrants. So I like what I'm doing and I'm good at it, or I love doing it and I'm great at it. Any thoughts or comments about that?
I love this idea. One exercise that I've done in the past, which is probably kind of similar to this, but I love the way that this is laid out, is just assessing everything that you do every day and then making a mark next to it in your calendar, a plus, a minus, or an equal. Does it give me energy? Does it take away energy? Or is it kind of energy neutral? Because what that says to us is that it's really bringing us joy or it's not. It's things we love to do or we don't love to do it. And of course, there's things in our daily life that we have to do that we don't love, but we should try to mitigate those as much as possible, because energetically, if we're staying in the things that really bring us energy, we are at the top of our energy all the time, in which we will always attract more opportunities. So if you find yourself not attracting more opportunities, it's probably because you're doing too many things that are drawing energy out of you. That's also what can create a lack of motivation. So if you're feeling bad about yourself, like, why can't I get myself to have the energy or the motivation to do things? This is probably one of the reasons why. And it's really simplistic, but we don't always think about it.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, just thinking about this in terms of energy too, whether it brings energy in or it in your energy bank, is it going in or is it going out?
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Many of us have been in the business for a long time and we understand the time value of money, but maybe this is new to somebody. So let's say I am representing a buyer and I get a commission, and let's say that commission is $6,000. So as I calculate how much time I spent with that client, showing houses, writing contracts, going through the process of contract to close, maybe I spend 30 hours. So I take my $6,000, I divide it by my 30 hours, and I come up with making $200 an hour. Got to keep in mind that I spent some time lead genning to get that client. But let's say, adding that in, I get $150 an hour. Well, how can I spend more time doing the things that I love? Well, I have to delegate those things where, I can pay somebody less than what I could make, so that I can focus my time on the $150 an hour work. Right? Mm-hmm. So keeping in mind, always, what are we doing? How are we spending our time? Because we all just have that same amount of time every day. So if we're not getting the results we want, it kind of goes back to how are we spending that time, and could we be delegating to get to doing what we love 100% of the time? Mm-hmm. So with each principle, I'm going to ask you to just kind of rate yourself. This is just an off the cuff. If, for instance, with this one, doing what you love in your business, how close are you to doing what you love 100% of the time, 1 to 10? You don't have to share it. I'm going to ask it of you after each principle, but how close are you to doing what you love 100% of the time? Keep track of that, and we'll ask you after the next principle. So the next principle is your ideal entrepreneurial life is doing what you love with people you love. And this was a big one. And I learned a lot working through this concept in the book. So do you ever wonder why you click with certain people and with other people, you're like, yeah, I think I need to not spend so much time with them? I think the reason is because of our values. With those people who have similar values, we gain energy, we draw in energy, we are like-minded, and therefore, that's where we click. And I know a lot of people on this call have the same values as I do of growth and helping others and just giving back. And so I click with you guys because of that reason. If I have a relationship with someone where, let's say, my value is telling the truth, and that person, I just can't get them to open up, and I'm not sure if they're telling me the truth, it's hard for me to be in a relationship with that person. And I thought, well, how do I really identify my values? And you've seen a lot of different things out there, but I thought, is there a tool? I love tools, obviously, as you can see. I went out and I purchased this, it's called the Values Deck. I think Candace is going to put the link in there. And what the Values Deck is 57 different values. And so you go through these cards and you say, does that resonate with me? Is it meaningful, or is it a must-have? So you go through it for the first time, you're eliminating some, you're saying it's meaningful, but it's not a must-have, and then you have the must-haves. Then you go through it again, and you can only pick 10. So of the must-haves, which of those must-haves fall into your top 10? So when I did it, I thought it was really interesting. Here's what I came up with, and they're not in order necessarily, but success, ambition, freedom, choice of your goals, responsibility, friendship, trust, elders for parents, family, security, health, sense of belonging. And so the deck itself is not inexpensive, but I'm happy to share it with anybody who is local here. But I think it helps us to really identify our personal values. Has anybody else gone through a values assessment and come up with anything interesting? Yeah. This is interactive, remember. Matthew looks like he wants to say something.
Yes, I have. I've done that before, and been quite surprised at some things, how we prioritize some things that we didn't really think were such a priority. But yes, I've definitely done that. Yep. And I'm older, so
Yeah. Well, I think we have our personal Go ahead, Cari.
No, I was gonna say they change, I'm sure, right? As we get older and our experiences, and I noticed that my values are probably different today than if I would have done this 20 years ago when I started in real estate. And so it's kind of a cool thing to do, even if you have done it before. If it's been a while, maybe it would be cool to do it again.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. So these are our personal values, but I believe they go over to our business values. So I'm hoping that most of you have identified for yourselves what your core values are in your business, because your core values in your business drive everything that you do. They drive the standards to which you hold yourself and your team and your vendors to. And so if you haven't gone through an exercise of creating the core values in your business, I encourage you to do that. And here's why I think it's a really good idea. So how do you identify your core values, and how do you know if you have the right people in your life, on your team, with your vendors, that type of thing? Again, a tool. This tool is called the People Analyzer. So at the top, if you've identified, let's say, your top 4 business values, so for instance, tell the truth, always do the right thing, people first, and grow or die. You can look at the people, whether these are people in an informal group, whether they're people in a formal team, whether they're in a structured business, and kind of rate them. Cari was talking about that a little bit earlier, but give, if they resonate with your values, they get a plus. If you're like, I'm not so sure, they get a plus minus. And if they really don't resonate, then they get a minus. And so what this helps us to do, remember the principle is doing what you love with people you love. This helps you to be aware of where there's a values match and where there's a disconnect. And so we can do that, like I say, group, team, company, but I think we can also do that with our vendors. I think it's important that our vendors have the same core values as we do, because we're recommending them, we're sending them into people's homes, if we're doing real estate. So do they match with your core values? You could even do this with your friends. We all know that we're the sum of the 5 people closest to us, or however that statement goes. Are they people that have the same values as you do? If they don't, maybe you just don't want to spend as much time with them. It doesn't mean necessarily that you cut them off, but maybe they're not the people that you spend the most time with. So these couple of tools, I think, help you to determine, how do I get to that goal of doing what I love, or spending time with people I love 100% of the time. So again, 1 to 10, where do you think you rate in that principle? I'm pretty lucky because I have an amazing group here. I have amazing friends. I have amazing business partner. And so mine is pretty high. I've been really blessed to have a lot of really wonderful people in my life, especially since coming to EXP. So I feel really lucky about that. So
we've got some good ones. We've got some good high numbers coming in the chat. That's awesome.
Awesome. I'm not seeing the chat, but I'm glad. I'm really glad. The third principle is while making a huge difference. And I think if I were to ask all of you on this call, are you determined to make a difference in people's lives? I think the answer to everybody would be yes. And of course, we all make a difference in different ways. For some people, it's sharing of our financial resources. For some people, it's sharing of our time. Some people want to get in and roll up their sleeves and do something like Habitat for Humanity. You can sit on a board. You can make a difference in your community, with your family, with your children. There's so many ways to make a difference. But the thing with your entrepreneurial life is being intentional about how you make a difference. So we can make a difference in the lives of our buyers and our sellers, and we change their lives by providing appropriate housing for them. And so how lucky are we to be able to be involved in an industry where we can make such a big difference for people in their family, So I love that. So again, you get to rate yourself. How close are you to making a huge difference 100% of the time? All right, so that was the third principle. Now we get to the money piece. So being compensated appropriately. That's a tough one because we all have a different thought process. We all think we bring enough value, that we should be highly compensated. But I think that the key measure in that is, if we want to make more money, we just have to add more value. So hopefully my slide will come up here. Come on, you can do it. So let's talk about adding more value. It's a concept that's a little bit fuzzy, I think. We always hear add more value, add more value. I'd love to hear from you guys. I know I'm sort of preaching at you, but I'd love to hear from you guys. How do you think we add value, or how do you add value in your business or in your career? Love to hear from you guys.
I connect people together.
Okay, love it. You're a connector. Mm-hmm.
Well, I would say, Lisa, in the coaching that I do, it's kind of like the law of compensation. So it's the need for what you do, the ability to do it, and the difficulty there is in replacing you. And they always say, if you take care of number 2, your ability to do it and really master what you do, number 3, the difficulty there is in replacing you will take care of itself. And everyone knows there's a need for what we do. So really focus on educating and leveling up and really mastering, put your 10,000 hours in and really get good at your lane.
I love that. And you stole my next slide, so that's okay.
I didn't know you. I should have looked ahead.
That's okay.
Perfect segue.
Yeah, no, that's good. How else do you guys feel like we can add value? How do you add value in your business?
Don't be shy, you guys. Unmute.
I have
Mary?
some, I do a lot of explaining and asking a lot of questions because people really don't know things that they need to know. And I just had a buyer consult on the phone, and it was really interesting because they're really super smart, but they have no idea about buying a house. And I'm not saying you have to be smart to buy a house, but just kind of the asking whys and having people understand, having them understand and feel good about what they're doing and knowing how to do it.
Yeah, so educating and keeping them informed.
For me, I find both with my clients and also with the growing group in my sponsor group is to streamline the process, make clear information so that I'm not in a reactive mode. I spent years as a young single mom working as an executive assistant. So I realized that's sort of my secret sauce is to anticipate needs, streamline process, present information in a way that people want and can receive it, and remove obstacles from their path. So I apply that mentality towards working with agents and also with my clients.
Love that. And you've added a lot of value to our group by providing the Trello board as well. So you made a difference for a lot of us as well. So I think about this statement here. It says the harder the problem, the more value perceived. The more value perceived, the more money people are willing to pay. And an easy example is a general practitioner and a neurosurgeon. The neurosurgeon has had to do that additional training, and the risk reward of what they're doing causes them to be compensated at a higher level. Not that there's anything wrong with the GP, but they're just at the value that they bring in solving problems. They are able to have a higher compensation level because of that. Those of you who remember Zig Ziglar, Zig said you can have everything in life you want if you will just help other people get what they want. I love that.
Me too.
And just what Angie just said just now. Bob Proctor, who is the Proctor Gallagher Institute, which Angie is a part of and is a consultant. This is a law, or I guess he didn't invent it, but it's a really smart thing. So the amount of money that you earn will be an exact ratio to, just what Angie said, the need for what you do, your ability to do it, and the difficulty there is in replacing you. And I did want to have a little conversation around this, thinking about real estate agents. So I think about number 3, and I think of the difficulty there is in replacing me. Well, in Minnesota, I don't know about your states, but there's 18 to 20,000 realtors. So if I were to say I'm retiring and stepped aside, there wouldn't be a big hole in the real estate industry because of it. And I think about the need for what you do. The need for what we do is somewhat based on market conditions, somewhat based on life events. And so just like Angie said, your ability to do it is where the law of compensation and the higher earning more money comes into play. Do you guys think that's true, or do you disagree with me? I'm very interested to hear what you think about that analogy that I just said.
I agree, especially in real estate here in California. There are more real estate lawsuits than any other state. And so my clients know that when I'm very proficient on the contract and make sure everything's in compliance, that they're being more protected. I mean, there's been some stuff here locally in the news that's gone on with some realtors where one even got arrested. So it's easier when I'm at a presentation to kind of talk about that, but just to make sure that legally I'm also helping protect them. I don't give legal advice, but I monitor that contract.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, I love this. And I think that this law of compensation is really true. And I think if I could add something to it, so it's definitely going to be in the ratio to the need. There has to be a demand for what you do. Obviously your ability, which is really your IQ, your skill set. And I think we're moving more into a skill-based business. So that's why these productivity calls and these mindset calls are so important, so that we can continue to make sure that we are leveling ourselves up. And then the difficulty in replacing it is that you're just going above and beyond and you're exceeding those expectations. I'm reading a book right now where it's like the people who succeed are always the ones that are trying to see, like, how do I do it just one more step? How do I just do one more thing that's unexpected, or that really is going to stand me apart from my competition, but more than anything, that's just going to bring a different level of value to the human being that I'm interacting with, no matter what role you're in. If you're an entrepreneur, or even have, a corporate job, the people that are always seeking to take one step further or do one more thing, I think are the people that become kind of not able to be replaced. I mean, you can teach that to somebody else, but that really is then creating this difficulty to replace you, which creates more demand. The last one that I think I would add to it is the amount of money you earn will be an exact ratio to the amount of people you help. Because I think that that's Zig Ziglar's quote: if you help enough people, you're going to have all the money that you need. And I truly do believe that at EXP. I mean, we're in the perfect success through others model. If we go above and beyond for the people and they succeed, there is absolutely no way we can't succeed, which is pretty amazing. But I think when we train ourselves that we are just looking for how many people we can help, and helping others actually does equate to compensation, because it always comes back around in some way, shape, or form. It's like exercising that faith muscle, that if we're out there just helping as many people as possible, we don't have to know exactly how much compensation is tied to each time we help. And sometimes it's going to be for free, but there's always going to be something that comes around the other side that does compensate us, because we are out there doing more for more people. And that's also a law of part of the law of compensation. I really truly believe it. That's why Zig said what he said. So I love this. And I think it's just a reminder, don't count everything that you do as how much am I making from this? Just know that if you do enough good deeds and you help enough people, that you're going to make enough money. Because I really do believe that that is the truth.
Yeah, that's a really good addition to it. Maybe we can petition and see if we can get the law changed.
Let's get that in there.
Yeah. All right. So again, rating yourself. How close are you to being compensated appropriately? And how many more people can you help? As Cari said, as we help, we get compensation eventually.
Yes.
All right. So the last principle of the 5 is having time for other passions. And this one I just think is so important. So when we talk about time for other passions, this is the typical response. Well, how would I fit anything else in? I'm just too busy. If you ask anybody who is an entrepreneur, you say, well, how are you? Busy, but good. Busy, but good. And, we always talk about how busy we are. But it comes down really to intentionality. Are you busy? Are you busy with the right things? Warren Buffett said the difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything. And so how do you have more time and for other passions? Well, you use that delegate, elevate, delete tool that we talked about. And that's the only way that you get to having more time for other passions. But I think time for other passions, you could think about it as recreation. But look at the word recreation is also recreation. Wow. And recreation is rejuvenation. It's self-care. It's time for yourself to rejuvenate, to get your mojo back, all of that. And so when you have time for other passions, you're recreating yourself. And so as busy entrepreneurs, it's if you're burnt out, if you're stressed out, you're not providing value at that high level that we know that we want to provide it at. And I think as we get more successful, we have more to do. And as we have more to do, it just continues to be ever expanding. And so unless we're really good at that delegate, elevate, delete, I think these are the effects. And I hate this. I hate thinking about, someone who works so much as a realtor, ends up with divorce, or they end up with health issues, or they're burnt out, they lose family and friends, and they have regrets. You know, one of the things I think about is I lost my dad almost a year ago in February. I'm trying to get through this without crying, but I have some regrets because I was very busy and it was like, well, I'll try to see you this weekend. And, you know, he went through a 5-year period of dying from dementia. And so I wish I was there more. I was there as much as I thought I could be, but I feel really passionate about people making time for other passions so that we don't experience these effects of our ever expanding workload. Anybody have thoughts on that?
I knew a realtor once in Northern Arizona when I was working there, and she did very well, but she was always working real estate no matter what. And it really affected her teenagers. And they even went to Italy and they had to stop her because while they were walking around, she's on the phone doing real estate deals. And they just really had to bring her down to earth. And it really shocked her when they said, we're done. Like they just told her mom, it's like, come on.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that kind of along the same lines that I'm a single mom. So for me, my child's growing fast and I don't want to miss out. I won't.
Yep. So how do we have time for other passions? It's fun. It's great to say that, but how do we do that? And I thought the book was brilliant in this. And so what the book encourages us to do as entrepreneurs is create something called a work container. And a work container is deciding and being sticking to it. How many hours are you able to work a week where you still have energy, where you still are able to serve at a high level? So what is that number? So if it's 40, it's 50, it's 60, as long as you're operating in those upper quadrants and you're getting a lot of energy from it, the number doesn't really matter. So it's a number of hours per week. And if you're working those 70 hours a week and you're feeling good about it, then what you need to do is look at the number of weeks per year you're going to work. So if you feel like you want to and you love it and you want to work 70 hours a week, that's great. But then maybe instead of working 52 weeks a year, maybe you work 48 weeks. And so, you know, we always talk about putting the vacation on the calendar first. It's kind of that thing. The book actually suggests a sabbatical. I don't know how that would work. It would take a lot of prep, but containing your energy and your work time to a certain number of hours a week and a certain number of weeks per year. That's how you will have time for other passions, and you won't have those regrets, and you'll have time for family and for teenage boys and for all the things that we value. And so I've started this. It's not easy to stick to. Like yesterday was a 12-hour day. And if I say it's 45 hours, then it's like, oh, I got a lot to squeeze into those remaining hours. But, you know, I have some health issues. And so, you know, I've got to do this. And so it's practice. You know, you don't just start out and do it perfectly, but you do have to do it intentionally if you want to live that ideal entrepreneurial life. So again,
I like your comment.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I like Matt's comment in here. He talks about how if you can let go of something, and that's a good point.
And they talk about that in the book too, that letting go is uncomfortable, you know, and of course we grow when we're uncomfortable. So as we start letting go and we feel that discomfort, as long as we're properly prepared, we should be okay, I think. So
yeah, I was gonna say that too, Candace. Of all the agents that I coach, that's one, getting some of these agents to even just use a transaction coordinator and let go of the stuff that almost anyone can do. It's a battle because people just don't want to, because they don't want anything to go sideways. So yeah, the uncomfortableness for sure.
Yeah.
And I think also in real estate, it's one of the harder businesses to delegate. Years ago, I was a social worker for 20 years, and I managed a really big welfare office with all kinds of behavioral health specialists, mental health, and it was so easy to delegate, but not in real estate because it's so much, I think, with our clients and our reputation of repeat business, it's our interactions with those clients and what we say and what we do matters, right? So it's harder in this business. But I would say if you have young children, mine are raised already, but when you do, I guess you have to say, okay, if I delegate, I have more time with my children. And if I have more time with my children, the likelihood of them growing up to be better people and to have better relationship in their adulthood with me is going to be based on the time I spend with them when they're young. So then it can force you to delegate, in my opinion.
Yep, absolutely. Love it. So as we think about time for passions outside of work, where are you guys at? All right. You can throw it in the chat or you can keep it private, either way. So again, these are the 5 principles. I just wanted to bring them up again in case you didn't get them all in one spot. I'm happy to send this presentation to anybody who might want it and might want to share it, with others. But this is, again, this is a long-term plan. This is a 3, 5, 10-year plan. But how beautiful is it to think about you're being able to do what you love 100% of the time with people you love, making that huge difference that we all want to make, making the kind of money we deserve to make, and then being able to have time for other passions. I can't think of anything better. So look at yourself, as you looked at your ratings, where are you on that gauge? Are you, overall, do you think you're at 25%? Are you 50%? If you're down there in 15%, I'm going to encourage you to get some gas. And so maybe that's time to spend more time on your passions, spending time there, but another way to think about it. So, and then as I've mentioned, you have to stick to the plan. I like this quote from Jim Collins. He says, mediocrity comes from chronic inconsistency. So we start the plan, we stop the plan, we start the plan, we stop the plan. We're just going to be mediocre. So stick with the plan. And today is the day to decide. I feel like a preacher here, but today's the day to decide. What I would want for each one of you on this call is that you're working toward that ideal entrepreneurial life. You now know what it involves and you have some tools to get there, but what it requires is a decision, and it requires you to then stick with that decision. So if you need an accountability partner, find an accountability partner, and let's do this, right? So just a little bit of information on Angie and I. We have the Business Minnesota Real Estate Mentors for newly licensed and inexperienced agents in Minnesota. We both do coaching. I focus on business development. Angie focuses on the mindset piece. Contact information is there. So I did pretty good on time at 45 minutes. Anybody else have any thoughts about this? I know I talked a lot, but I'd love to hear anything else that you guys think about on these 5 principles.
I loved it. It was really great. I would love to hear some ahas.
Yeah.
So don't be shy. Unmute yourself and let's throw a few out there. Ahas, takeaways, things you're going to implement.
I think what came to mind as I was watching is it was a good reminder, Lisa, just like your calendar and your schedule. So when you have everything set up, it's when you're saying yes to something, what are you saying no to? And I think what hit me, and I remembered back when I was at the beginning of my real estate career, and I was like, yes, 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 because I left a career. I was like, come hell or high water, this was going to work. And one point, my husband looked at me, he's like, I'm done. Like, I can't do this anymore. I had 2 small children. He's like, go back to corporate. It's not worth the money. Like, this is not any way to live. And I was just like, whoa. So I very quickly had to get control of my calendar, not let it control me. And one of my biggest lessons was when you're saying yes to something, what are you saying no to?
That's great. Yeah, I love that.
So one of my biggest takeaways is more of a question that I need to sit back and just really examine. The thought of how quickly can you be replaced, or how easily can you be replaced, right? So I think that for most instances, outside of marriage, I'm married, I cannot be replaced. My wife cannot replace me. But in the workplace, right, I think most instances everybody can be replaced, but how long will it take to fill that void, and how much of an impact will be missing? So when I'm thinking of, for both my clients and for for those of you that are with, a recruiting type base model or anything like that, where you're teaching, helping, growing others, and you know, out there in those type of marketplaces, it's like, if you were to go away, how empty would that void feel, right? And I'm thinking about that. Quite honestly, that's the one out of everything that you spoke about today, that's the one thing that just kept hitting me and hitting me and hitting me, is like, you know, really how valuable are you in the position that you are? And if you went away tomorrow, would anybody notice? And that's a hard question to think about, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Very good. Very good question. We always say the quality of the questions we ask ourselves are going to equate to the quality of our life or our business. That's a great question to ask yourself, JJ.
Well, yeah. No, sorry, Chris. And it might be, for some, it might be a question that kind of breaks you down a little bit. Like, well, am I valuable and you know, it's like you might defeat yourself, or for some like myself, you challenge yourself to be more, become more, give more, and actually reevaluate what you're trying to do, what your purpose is. So go ahead, Chris. Sorry to cut you out.
You're good, JJ. I was just gonna say, yeah, I retired from the military in 2014 and bounced around the corporate world and then got into real estate. So it's easy to get your schedule and think that everything has to be done all the time. And I was thinking back about I deployed 4 different times and all the workups and everything. I got 2 kids, you know, my son will be 22 next week. But like from the time they were, I don't know, they were born in 2000, so everything started around that time. So the time I retired, I really didn't have a relationship with them because I was gone, or when I was home, I wasn't there. You know what I mean? So as much as you can, don't let the family behind. You know, that was a big lesson that I'm still trying to deal with. And even knowing that, it's hard not to jump at the opportunities when they arise, because as you're starting to build, you know, beginning of the career is tough. So that's a takeaway I came out with.
Isn't that a song? Cats in the Cradle? Isn't that a song? Yeah, right?
Yeah. It's so true. It is really hard. And that's the subconscious part of our mind that actually talks us into things. And, you know, for me, you know, for 11 years, I sold real estate, very similar story, Chris, at a really high level. And I was a very successful realtor, but I didn't have a great quality of life. And I was trying to juggle and, you know, figure out balance between life and work. And I wasn't very successful at it, mostly because eventually I realized that that's a myth and balance doesn't exist. But really, it was my mind telling me stories like, if you don't go with this client, like, you know, this is $10,000 to your family, or this is $8,000 or whatever. And you need that to, you know, your family needs you to show up. I was, you know, all of our eggs were in the basket of real estate. So it's the scarcity and the mind, the subconscious mind, that tells us stories that aren't always true, that will dictate how we act in that moment. And then we'll regret what we did. But it's because we're not making that active decision and that choice in that moment. So it's just important to understand our mind is going to try to do that to us. And if we take that thought out of our mind and we question it, is it really true that we're going to lose the $8,000 or $10,000? Or could we reach out to the client, and could we manage our time and tell them we have an appointment, and would they still work with us? And could we, you know, could we go to the baseball game? Maybe we have to leave a little bit early, but we would be there, and, you know, whatever the thing may be. And it's like, I didn't ask myself those questions because I just listened to my mind and believed it as a true thing, as a fact, which it's not. And then of course my actions were dictated by that. And so it's a management of mindset more than it is really balancing time. It's really just keeping our priorities in the forefront of our mind, and then not letting our mind tell us things that aren't true. And it sounds simple, but it's very hard, obviously, or all of us would be doing it more successfully. So that's a really great point, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. Well, thanks everybody for joining us today. It was really wonderful to speak, and I hope that you will not just look at this as entertainment, that you'll actually go out and do those things, decide, and start working toward that ideal entrepreneurial life.
Awesome. I posted all of the links that Candace posted in here in our EXP family tree underneath the live as well, so you guys can grab it. We had quite a few viewers there, so thanks to you guys for watching.
You guys, we had a great group here today in person. Thank you for joining us. I know that makes it a lot more fun for the presenter. Lisa, this was a great reminder, great information, very thought-provoking. That's what we need to be able to continue to grow ourselves in this business, is to be asking great questions of ourselves and reminding ourselves how important that these decisions we make in our life and our business are. So I really appreciate you being here and teaching us today.
You bet. My pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. We'll see you back here tomorrow. We have Jen, who is one of my partners down in Texas, who's going to talk to us about TikTok and some other things that she's learned as she has failed forward in social media video in specific. And she's only been in business for a couple of years. She's done about 70 transactions her first 2 years of business. So she's a great spitfire that you'll want to learn from, but really more importantly, I think she's got some good lessons that she's learned about video that you all can take, and you can start where you're at, because that's what she did. And I think it's really inspiring to talk to somebody who hasn't been doing it for 10 years, you know, at this highly professional level, but rather somebody who's just kind of learning as they go too, like us. It's very motivating and inspiring, and that's what we'd like to bring you guys today. So if you or anybody you know is looking to just do more video in general, come tomorrow, same time, same Zoom link. And of course, we'll record it as always. Thanks, you guys. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.